Nuzlocke, a term once only known by Pokemon fanatics, has since entered the mainstream. Now, even your grandma's roommate has heard the term. But I'm sure there's still some of you out there asking, what is a Nuzlocke? Where does the term come from? Will Dunsparce ever get an evolution? I can only answer 2 out of 3 of those questions. By the end of this video, you'll be a Nuzlocke expert, including variations such as a hardcore Nuzlocke. Let's get started. First off, what is a Nuzlocke? Simply put, it's a self-imposed rule set to make Pokemon games harder. The 2 most basic rules are, only the first Pokemon encountered in any area can be caught. Doesn't matter if you screw it up, you've got 1 shot, 1 opportunity. If a Pokemon faints, it must be considered dead. Box it, release it, doesn't matter, it's dead. Now, there's a couple other rules people pretty universally consider part of a Nuzlocke challenge. Those include 1, a full team wipe equals a loss. The run must be started over. You're dead, buddy. And 2, every Pokemon must be nicknamed. This significantly adds to the emotional connection to your Pokemon. It makes every death hurt that much more. We're masochists here, baby. These other rules are slightly less common, but still pretty popular, and are a great way to spice up the experience. Dupe's Claws. If the first Pokemon you encounter in a new area is one you've already caught, you can skip that bozo and try until you get a new Pokemon. I can't tell you how many Nuzlockes I did where I had a full team of Rattata before I heard of this rule. I usually count the entire evolutionary line of a Pokemon under this rule, so if I run into a Metapod after already catching a Caterpie, I'll go for another encounter. Now, if you encounter a Pokemon with a split evolution line, like finding a Silcoon if you already have a Cascoon, you can make that call yourself. I'd probably catch it. And Shiny Claws. If you encounter a shiny Pokemon, it counts as a free catch. The chances of this are so low, we might as well treat it as an act of God. Now let's get into the history of the Nuzlocke. Where did it come from? It all started in 2010. A college student by the name of Nick Franco began a playthrough of Pokemon Ruby to kill time during a boring semester. Only this playthrough was different. He gave himself self-imposed rules that would eventually become known as the Nuzlocke Challenge. Now, I bet you're asking, where does the term Nuzlocke come from? Well, Franco found his experience so interesting, he wanted to share it with others, so he doodled up some quick comics titled Ruby Hard Mode. These comics featured a Nuzleaf he drew to look like John Locke from the TV show Lost. So Nuzleaf, Locke, Nuzlocke. Fans of the comic dubbed the rule set created by Franco the Nuzlocke Challenge. Okay, cool, so you've got the basics. Now let's get advanced. Let's discuss some variants of the challenge. The most popular variant rule set is known as a hardcore Nuzlocke. In addition to the basic Nuzlocke rules, players will usually add the following. 1. Items cannot be used in battle. This means potions, X items, status curing items, all that jazz. They're perfectly fine to use outside of battle. This rule does not apply to held items, which are totally allowed. The battle style must be switched to set mode. Most casual Pokemon fans probably have never even noticed this setting in the options menu. What this does is remove the option of switching your Pokemon before your opponent sends in their next Pokemon. And lastly, you must set level caps determined by the next boss, usually a gym leader. Your Pokemon's level must be at or below this level cap when challenging the next boss. If your Pokemon is higher than this level cap, it may not be used, even outside of a gym battle. Leveling up past the level cap during a boss battle is allowed, and is a totally viable strategy. And there are so many other variants to choose from. Some of the most popular include a monotype run, where you only allow 1 type of Pokemon your entire playthrough. Having to play around 1 type's weaknesses makes for a very fun challenge. You could also try a Soul Link, where you and your friend play a Nuzlocke of the same game simultaneously. The Pokemon you catch in matching areas are linked, and if your Route 1 Pokemon dies, so does your friend's. Seems like a great way to ruin a friendship. If you're a part of like a Pokemon playing community, you could try an Egglocke. Have people, whether they be friends, viewers of your content, mortal enemies, send you eggs to replace every encounter you find. It adds a fun element of mystery. If you're playing a newer game with internet connectivity, you could Wonder Trade away every encounter you catch and use those newly acquired Pokemon to complete a Wonderlock challenge. There are thousands of other rules you could add to a Nuzlocke challenge. That's the best part of it. It's completely at your discretion. There's no right way to do a Nuzlocke. It's your challenge, you set the rules. Thanks so much for watching this video. This was my first foray into informative content like this, so if you enjoyed it, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more. Until next time.